This is the Truth Network.
Like emptiness and harmony, I need someone to comfort me. Homeward bound, I wish I was homeward bound. Just know you're not alone, 'cause I'm gonna make this place your home. Our house is a very, very, very fine house.
Christian Car Guy Radio Show.
I say this calls for action, and now.
Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. Sweet home Alabama, I'm coming home to you. No, I cannot forget from where it is that I come from. I cannot forget the people who love me. Yeah, I can be myself here in this small town, and people let me be just what I want to be. On our way back home, we're on our way home, we're on our way home, we're going home.
Oh, we are going home.
That was amazing, brother. Amazing. It took me so many places. So many places.
Yeah. Did you know, number one, we are live from the Men's Summit Restoring Biblical Manhood today. And you're going to have to say, Robbie, what does that have to do with going home? It has everything to do with going home. When we begin to show you what all this is, I think you'll be like me. God, that is more than amazing. How could that all have to do with going home? Well, it does have to do with going home. But you may have noticed, and I thought about this morning. God had made a big deal out of it. The number 2 category of songs of all time, like you took all the songs, you might guess that love would be the theme of most songs. But the number 2 category, running away, is the concept of going home. And so you just heard a few. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, but I just looked at the list and I went, oh, these are good. This is awesome. And all those songs, right? Those were what we grew up to.
They were amazing. I mean, when Sweet Home Alabama, Forrest Gump popped in my head, him dancing in that movie. It's just amazing what the songs do to my brain.
So this is the Men's Summit. It happens every year at the First Christian Church in Kernersville. And believe it or not, behind us, Bob, there are 650 men that are exploring the concept of restoring biblical manhood. Now, if you just put it out on a TV screen somewhere, we're going to do a conference, Restoring Biblical Manhood, it's not something that everybody's just going to go sign up for. If you were really honest, like me 25 years ago, I saw that, we'd be turning the channel, right? But the truth is, if men really knew what that meant, what God really has in mind by restoring biblical manhood, oh my goodness. And so I got to tell you, literally, God showed me this stuff this morning as I was researching this whole idea. But Jesus would tell you that there's been so much stolen. And Jesus came to seek and save that which was lost. And what has been lost by us is understanding the word restoring, understand the word biblical, and understand the word manhood. I got to tell you, I would have had no way to explain those things like I could explain them right now compared to what I would have been explaining them 6 hours ago. So, as you explore this concept, why would you suppose that there are so many songs on the concept of going home? And one of the deepest wounds I personally took in my entire life, and if you're like me and you experience this kind of thing, you're going to go with me. One of the deepest wounds was when my parents divorced. I was 19 at the time. You wouldn't think, well, that's no big deal. You were grown up. It was a huge deal. You know why it was a huge deal? And I can remember I was just permeated by the fact that I couldn't go home. Because my parents, I had stayed in Albuquerque and they'd moved on to Kansas City. And so they were in two different places, and I was just sitting there going, I don't have a home anymore. And I could go to my father's house. I could go to my mother's house. But there was no such thing as home. And I was literally in tears. And as I recalled that this morning, I was sitting there crying. I was like, God, this is really near and dear to my heart. I didn't realize how close it is. And why is that? So the word restore in Hebrew, Bob, we're going to take you on this adventure. I'm not a Hebrew speaker, but I do understand the letters phenomenally well. So I believe it would be pronounced shwub. But anyway, that's my guess at it. But anyway, the letter, the word, it starts with this wonderful Hebrew letter that looks like fire. It's called a shin. And the idea behind that letter literally is fire. Like if you say fire in Hebrew, it's an aleph in the shin because you got to have air, which is the aleph, and you got to have fire. You got to have air to make fire. And so here's this idea of fire. And I don't know if you've been to many homes back in the day, but they all had fireplaces. Well, in those days, even the tent, they had a fireplace. You had to be a little careful there. But nonetheless, fire was a big part of home. And have you ever thought about, man, you can sit there and look at a campfire and there's just it's right? It just makes you feel like relaxed and rejuvenated. You can look at fire and it just does something for your soul. Did you ever wonder about that?
Oh, I did it this week. I tore down a building for a lady at church, and I took the wood to my house and put it in a barrel, and I had a really awesome fire for a little while.
And so when you think about that whole idea, the word shalom, guess what? It starts with that same fire. Or the word Shabbat, which means is relaxing. It's like there's something inside of fire that gives you this sense of home. But then the second letter in the word return or restore is a vav, which is kind of like a Jacob's ladder letter. It looks like a straight line, but it really is the light of God coming down, and it's a connecting letter. And so what we're doing is we're connecting the fire to something. Well, the last letter in the word restore is a bet. Now, this letter is like one of the hugest deals that you could imagine in the Hebrew alphabet. The reason it is bet means house. It literally means house. And so when you say this shin vav bet, you're connecting fire to house. What you're actually connecting is you're yearning, you're burning to be home. It's John Denver singing, take me home, country roads. It's Sweet Home Alabama. It's, Simon and Garfunkel saying, homeward bound. I mean, all these things are part of what this set of letters is telling us that every secular person obviously is dealing with, as they have this burning feeling for home, to come home, to be restored to home. What would that, look like? Well, interestingly, God, according to the Jews, and I agree wholeheartely with them, the reason he started the Bible, the Torah itself, starts with a bet. If you go look in the beginning, God, the way that it's called Bereshit, I know that's how they say it in Hebrew, but it starts with a bet because God wanted for him a place where he could stretch out and be himself. Like John Mellencamp talked about, like in a small town, I can be myself. Well, I put that in there very specifically because when you're at home, you can be yourself. And you have a burning for a relationship with your parents, with your family. Now, you may not have what you always hope for. God blessed me with a wonderful couple parents. But what he intended was this family. He intended this home. He intended that this whole thing was going to be there. So to restore biblical manhood, you see, the Bible begins, the Torah began with a bet. But I don't know if you've ever thought about this, and here's another little just side note that I find fascinating, is the word Bible itself. If you were a Hebrew and you heard the word Bible, you're going to think about what letters are in there. Well, that would be two bets, because that's that b sound, right? There's two bets in there, Bible. And then what's that other sound that you're hearing, that L? That's a lamed, and what that is the letter that starts the word heart, and it has to do with your heart burning again. So the Bible has got the whole heart burning for home deal too. If you were to speak Hebrew, which I think all our languages actually originally came from there. What's this interesting little side note, is that when the Jews translated the Bible into Greek, they were ordered to do that by the Greeks. And apparently they weren't just terribly happy about that. And so you can find where they've written where they conspired to do the Bible differently in the Septuagint than it really was to be interpreted. And one of the things that they did was they started the scriptures with an alpha instead of an aleph, instead of a bet, because they didn't want the Greeks to be the chosen people that have the law. So they, think about how sneaky the law. But God one-upped them when he calls it the Bible. So, hey, I think God's got a sense of humor. So we're coming home live from the 2020 Men's Summit. Hopefully you got a better idea for that. We want your stories about going home when we come back. 866-348-7884. Homeward bound today on the Christian Car Guy Show. We are live at the 2020 Men's Summit here at the First Christian Church in Kernersville, which is actually a huge event. There's, like we've talked about, 650 men that are back here working on this whole concept that we're talking about going home today on the Christian Car Guy Show. So by all means, if some of what we're talking about is kicking up a memory or something where you've seen home as an important subject, we would love to hear your story. 866-348-7884 is the number to call in and share. We got all kinds of lines open. Even though we're live, we can still take your calls. 866-348-7884. Bob?
Brother, when you start talking Greek and your knowledge is so galactically past mine, and I was like, oh, Lord, he's lost me again. But then you bring it all full circle, and it comes down to something as simple as our burning to be at home or to go home, and that is one of the basic needs ever. And when you mentioned about how traumatic it was for you when your parents divorced, we found some writings of my son after he passed, and that for him too was a parallel detriment for him. It was something that really tore him up, and something he really never got over was his mother and I divorcing. And although I don't understand, I don't have the knowledge that you have about the Greek alphabet and all that, but when you bring it full circle, I can always gather it and grasp it and walk with it, and in this case I can run with it.
Well, that's Hebrew.
It brings tears to my eyes that
this is actually Hebrew, not Greek, but that's okay. But what I want to tell you is that 6 hours ago I didn't know I had no clue, but I was just praying, God, where are we going today? And he took me here. He said, well, look into this word restore. And so as I began to study the word, and then I began to see several things about restore, which actually, when you think about it, Bob, the prodigal son, when he's sitting there eating the pig pods, right? What was he doing? His heart was burning for death. His heart was burning to be in his father's house, where he didn't have to experience this kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Which has to do with the second word. Well, we talked about biblical a bit, but we did not talk about manhood. Well, when you think about manhood, especially what these guys are learning about behind us right now, it has everything to do with sonship. And I knew this already, but it's so applicable what we're talking about today. Because sonship, the word son in Hebrew, I bet you've even heard this. It's like bar or ben. So it starts with a bet, same letter, right? It means home. It very specifically means home. And the reason why it's usually translated ben is because the second letter is what we call a final nun. In Hebrew, it looks like a nail, Bob, okay? And the concept literally is home builder. So your son was the one who could have built your household. And I remember all too specifically, and I hate to...
It's all good. Go there.
But I couldn't help but think about this as I was thinking about it this morning, that one of the things you came and told me is, Robbie, there's no more Youngs in my line because my son was the one who could build my house. Right?
Yes, sir.
And so when we're restoring biblical manhood, from God's perspective, whose son are we?
Amen.
We're his son. And we're building his house because he wants, just like the song says, he wants to kick off his shoes, he wants to be himself at home, and he wants to hang out with you. He has, the reason why we have our heart, we're an image bearer of God. And the reason why we love home, the reason why we yearn for that feeling to be in relationship with the Father and all that stuff is because, guess what? Jesus, talk about somebody who wanted to be with Dad. I mean, you have no better example in all the world than of somebody who wanted to be with their dad than Jesus. And what was he doing? He was building his Father's house, which is the kingdom. So why I say all this is to explain something like, oh, look what you're showing me this morning, God. These men in here, that sounds like, restoring biblical manhood. This does not sound like fun to me 20 years ago, right? I mean, this is, right. You got to be kidding me. I mean, if I'm honest, that's how I would feel about the subject. But really, truly understanding that the Bible is inside of that are all these little clues that God has given us in how to have that home ourselves. If we can have it with him, we can have that relationship where we really can kick off our shoes and really be ourselves with the Father. Then he will help us be that for our families, because what does your family want when they come home at Thanksgiving?
To be around, to be right there with us, and to be a part of the family, and to just soak that up. Right, and you've got Jeremy now. Amen. And I wanted to comment on that. He's gone to Korea now, and at home this Christmas, it was just such a great thing. And his mother and I got to go up and give him a send off, and before he left for Korea, and that was just last week. And the fact that he was not my biological seems to matter less and less each day and each month and each year that goes by. And I do feel like now that there is somebody to carry on and to carry our house forward. And it's just a pretty awesome thing because, when Rob passed, I had that feeling that, because I'd lost my biological son, my only biological son, that, my lineage died. But it's become so apparent to me that the marks I've made on Jeremy's life growing up will live on with him forever, and thus carry, our family and our thing forward, and it's just been really great. And it is, and I'm so grateful for it. In so many different ways, we all have this yearning to be with Dad, and so we've got more, but we need you. We need your stories. You call us, 866-348-7884 is the number to call in and share. We would love to hear from you, your stories of home. 866-348-7884. We got a bunch of young scouts, trail life. We're going to be with you here in a minute. Stay tuned.
Robbie Dillmore here, and the Truth Network podcasts have helped make MyPillow the company it is today. And now Mike Lindell, who, by the way, I've met and is a great guy, the inventor and CEO of MyPillow, wants to give back to our listeners. For the first time, you can get deep discounts on all MyPillow products if you go to MyPillow.com right now and click on the new radio listener specials. Who never thought that my dream job would be selling MyPillows? Maybe you're getting tired of these sleeping jokes, but you can get deep discounts on MyPillows, mattress toppers, bed sheets, and so much more. For example, the body pillow is regularly $89.99, but with a promo code GETTRUTH, it's only $29.99. Remember, all MyPillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee and a 10-year warranty. Just go to MyPillow.com and click on the new radio listener specials and get deep discounts on all MyPillow products, including the body pillow for only $29.99. Enter promo code GETTRUTH or call 800-942-9613 for these great radio specials.
Country roads take me home to the place I belong. Sweet home Alabama, Lord, I'm coming home to you. No, I cannot forget from where it is that I come from. I cannot forget the people who love me. Yeah, I can be myself here in this small town, and people let me be just what I want.
We are coming home today on the Christian Car Guys Show. How fun. We're live from the 2020 Annual Men's Summit, which is this year talking about restoring biblical manhood. And talking about restoring biblical manhood, we have with us, this is very exciting, isn't it, Bob?
Very exciting.
I love to see young men, and we have young men. We have a very young man by the name of Joshua who is with Trail Life. Nope, Jimmy, you're right. Thank you. My trusty producer just set me straight. We have Jimmy, who's 10 years old. He's with Trail Life USA Troop 1130 right here from First Christian Church. So welcome, Jimmy.
Hello.
And you've been out here selling water, haven't you?
Yeah, donuts and coffee.
They were tempting me with their donuts earlier.
And so, isn't it kind of cool to see all these men here?
Yes, it is.
It is, and you've been selling them water, but I'm wondering, in your experience there with Trail Life USA, have you ever had an experience where you said, God, I did not know you were this cool? Like, man, this tent stuff, this camping stuff, is that fun?
A lot of times, yes.
Can you tell me that story that comes to mind? Did you go camping?
Yes, we've gone camping a lot, and we thought we weren't going to make it to camp one time because we were babysitting somebody, but then we were able to bring him to camp and have a good time. He's 3 now.
And so God showed up?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Jimmy. That's great. Well, while we get the next one up, Bob, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
That's so cool. And when I found out these guys were 5th graders, it just warmed my heart because I have a connection with some 5th graders at Midway Elementary, and it's just a really good thing. Kids this age they get it. They get me anyhow, you know. I connect so well with young people. I think it's because I still have the same mentality as a young one, you know, and their eyes are full of light, and they're just eager to learn, and just you know, all I do is go and hang out with the guys and eat lunch, and we have a good time and share a little love.
Bob does have that childlike spirit, but speaking of childlike spirit, we have Joshua, and Joshua is 9 years old, right? And you're also in the troop? Joshua, you got to talk, because otherwise, so say hi.
Hey.
Hi. And what are you doing here today?
Like selling stuff.
And what have you been selling specifically? Are you in charge of the donuts?
No. I just collect the money.
You collect the money.
Oh, you have a very
he's a steward.
Very
we got
it.
All right, Joshua.
Yeah.
Joshua, do you know that your name in Hebrew is Yeshua? Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Do you know that the name Jesus actually in Hebrew is Yeshua as well?
No idea.
See, we're learning stuff today. So it's really, really cool that when I thought of Joshua, I was thinking, man, he has Jesus' name, Bob.
There you go.
It's Yeshua. What's your last name, Joshua?
Medeiros.
Medeiros. Well, thank you for being with us today, Joshua. I can tell you're having fun out here.
Yeah.
Have you seen God show up? Do you recognize him? Is it that guy in the beard over there? He does show up. He looks just like Jesus, and he sees that sometimes in people's smile. That treats you really well. So thank you for being with us.
I think it's really awesome you guys come out here and share and serve, you know. You're helping people out. You're helping accomplish what you need to, and just thank you for being the young man that you are.
You're welcome.
So yes, this is the Triad Men's Summit, but yet we have these young men, and you know, John Eldridge teaches us, and I agree, that masculinity can only be transferred from masculinity. In other words, to be around a group of men like this is a great way to see what masculinity looks like. And so if we're restoring biblical manhood, you know, these guys are the next men. So, I mean, who more important should we have showing up here than these guys from Trail Life USA? So we have Yeshua number 2 today. So, hey, Joshua, how are you?
Good.
Oh, Joshua, you got a voice for radio. So, Joshua, what have you seen here that's been fun that you thought, wow, that's really cool?
I liked watching all the people come and see us selling all the food.
You were in charge of the donuts, if I'm not mistaken, am I right?
No, I was in the coffee.
Oh, coffee. So you got to see the men that needed to be woke up. So, so you're doing a great job. How about your camping trips? Is there an experience you can share, like that time that you guys had to eat the chicken that fell in the dirt?
No, because I haven't really been on any camping trips because we had to go on vacation and all.
Oh, okay. So what have you done with Trail Life USA that's been the most fun so far?
Probably after class when we're playing games with each other, and we learned how to repair a bike.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
A Christian car guy in the making.
Well, and I've been working on a bike all week, one that Rob had left me, and it found its way back to me.
You ought to tell Joshua that story.
Yeah, well, see, my son, he had a tandem bike, and then...
A tandem bike meaning two people could bike it at the same time?
Bicycle built for two. And he had it, and he sold it to a guy, and then after my son passed, the guy came to me and says, I think I need to give you this bike because you're supposed to have it. And I said, well, please let me pay you for it. And he wouldn't let me pay him for it, but he got me the bike, and I just put it in a shed for a while because my heart wasn't ready to work on it. But just this past week, I took the wheels off of it and got them fixed and got new tires for it. And I'm one nut. I need one little nut to go on it, and it'll be ready to ride. So it just really warmed my heart when you talked about bicycles. It just really, really, really touched me. Thank you for that.
So what was your favorite part of fixing the bicycle? Being on the chain gang? Were you on the chain gang?
I liked taking off the tires.
There you go. That's where the rubber meets the road right there, Bob.
As soon as you put it back together, did you get on it and ride it?
No.
Oh, well, see, that's the most satisfying part for me after you work on something and get it right, is to actually ride it. So try that next time. It'll give you a feeling, wow, I fixed this and it works, you know. Mm-hmm. It's like my son, he works on helicopters, and one day he rode on the helicopters he worked on.
Yeah, that's an
example. And I told him, I said, that'll make you tighten those bolts up a little tighter on it. You know, if you get to ride on what you work on, you'll work on it a little better, you know.
Speaking of that, you know, Joshua, we have a ministry inside the Christian Car Guy Show called the Jesus Labor Love, where we help out single moms, widows, and families in crisis, and we have had some wonderful responses the last week, lots of generous donations, but we did have a need that I wanted to mention on the air. There's a family in crisis in Greensboro. Actually, this lady has a child that's diabetic, a type 1 diabetic, where it has to go to the doctor all the time, and she has no transportation that's readily available for her times. Of course, there's always the ambulance, but when, you know, you're on
$700 to $800 to ride around the corner in an ambulance, brother.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so you can imagine the need that she is really experiencing. And so if you all would pray, you know, that's what we're asking you to do. If somebody you know is in the Greensboro area that has a car to donate, something they're not using, of course, you can go to ChristianCarGuy.com and click the donate button.
Tax deductible. Hey, just saying.
Just saying. It is. We're a 501c3. But what we really, all of you listening, you know, if we just be praying, I actually have 2 or 3 needs in the Greensboro area similar, but that God would provide cars for these people. And we're grateful. We had a car donated in Raleigh last week, so that's really awesome stuff. So where do you go to church here at First Christian, Joshua?
No.
Oh, okay. Where do you go?
Westover, but we're leaving. We're trying to find a new church.
Oh, well, you're in luck. You're at a church you can try. That's really cool. Well, Joshua, we're so grateful for you being here and volunteering. Are they paying you to sell this stuff? I'm just kidding.
Maybe. I don't know.
Oh, me. Well, I tell you what, it's great to see young people at church helping out, and you have a heart to serve, and keep that with you. It'll get you through times when nothing else works. With the loss I've had in my life and the things I've experienced, sometimes I get really down and caught up. But the best medicine for me when I get down or get to worrying about something is It's going and helping somebody else. That is the best medicine, because if you're helping somebody else, you're not thinking about your problem. So keep serving and keep helping and keep doing the things you're doing. It'll get you through a lot. It's good medicine.
How fun is this? Again, we are live at the 2020 Men's Summit at the First Christian Church. This is going on until 3 o'clock, so you can still come if you got time. But we definitely need your story. This is the last segment. You got to call us, 866-348-7884. Stay tuned. One more segment.
And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking. People hearing without listening. People writing songs that voices never share.
That, by the way, Bob, you're listening to the Christian Car Guy Show. Today we're talking about going home. We're live from the 2020 Men's Summit here, Restoring Biblical Manhood. I don't know if you've ever really listened to some of Simon and Garfunkel's lyrics there, but I was studying that lyric this morning and noticed, wow, that's just like they would be hearing and never listening, or, you know, it's not exactly how it went, but that's the Robbie standard version. That's RSV. They'd be hearing and never perceiving. You might remember that. We have another young man with us who does perceive a little bit about biblical manhood. We have Caleb, who's also from the Young Life, the Trail Life organization. Only Caleb is like, man, he's been with them 5 years.
I think.
And you're in the Navigators now.
Yes, sir.
So you've come up like through the ranks for 5 years. Tell us what all those ranks are.
First, there's the Foxes, there's the Mountain Lions. Foxes, Hawks, Mountain Lions, Navigators, and Adventurers.
So one more and you get Adventurers.
Yes, sir.
Do you know that's one of the core desires God put in all men's heart, was to go on an adventure, especially with him. So, you know, how fun is that? And what have you seen in all those years in trail life that you really felt like, wow, God, you're really in this? Like, was there a story at one of the camping trips you saw him do something, or something else in trail life that you've seen that in? I know, tough question, but I like tough questions.
I think there is, but I can't recall it.
That's okay. That's all right. See, sometimes, actually, you know, one of the things that I think is really fun to do is before you go on one of those adventures is pray and ask God, wow, show me something cool that can stick down in my heart and I can remember it, because, you know, he's got that involved for all us in all these different. You go to church here, Caleb?
Right now we're going to Tri Baptist.
Oh, good. So also in Kernersville.
Yes,
so
sir.
we have Caleb. We've had Joshua, 2 Joshuas and Caleb. So we're just having the spies here today from the Old Testament. That's all we got. So Caleb, thank you for being with us. This has been really, really fun. We have Keith is in High Point. He has got a story for us. So I'm anxious to hear that. Keith, you're on the Christian Car Guy Show. Good morning.
Hello.
Hello, Keith.
How are you today?
I'm good.
Not just really as much as a story. I did want to comment, though. You're talking about building homes and how
good
we go on. But, you know, a lot of children come from broken homes.
Yes, they
and
do.
When they have people like you and Bob to talk to and to give them advice, whether you're at that conference or whether you're going to the store and see a kid a young person at a checkout, but the words we say to them can build the house. And the little advice y'all giving those youngsters there, man, y'all got a construction crew going on today. I'm gonna tell you what, y'all really do. And just some word that you give to a child, you might not think it ever means anything. You know, oh, they'll forget it, but there might be some time in their life, 10 or 20 years down the road, that word will come to them. That word will give them shelter, and it will help, you know, and they might, you know, probably can guide them back to God if they've gotten off the track. And I was just, my home was, my parents got divorced when I was very young. I was in the 60s. I was 12, 13 years old. But my boat was drifting around for a while, but I had the blessing to be able to live with my grandparents.
Oh wow!
In the '70s, and they met my brother and I. I got to live with them, but their influence in our lives is phenomenal, and it's something I'll never forget. And the things you and Bob are doing today, it's just there's no difference. Y'all are building homes, you're building lives, you're building families.
But you made such an amazing point there, Keith. I want you to. God provides fathers from all over the place. He is a father to the fatherless, but he's not. I used to think he was the backup plan, but the more I've lived, the more I realize he was the original plan. He's the one that really did want to Robbie Dillmore. He's the one that really made sure that my parents came. All those things happened, but then he's brought people like Bob in my life, people like you, Keith. How lucky are we that we have all these people speaking truth into our lives? Go ahead.
We're just so blessed. I can't fathom my blessings. A lot of times I forget them, and I'm on my knees at nighttime. Lord, please forgive me for counting my liabilities instead of my assets. And the more I count my assets, the lower the liabilities are.
And as I'm listening to that, and I'm thinking, and I've been thinking about it all morning. The word blessed itself, which is barak in Hebrew, again, guess what it starts with? House.
House.
It does. That's what it is. It's like
I'm starting to learn a little Hebrew. I've been going to a synagogue here in my area on Friday nights for Shabbat Shalom, and I really enjoy that. But they said, "Well, we're going to make you a part of the congregation." I said, "Well, I don't know if I can go that far now. I can't deny my Lord, But there's some wonderful people.
And they have some understandings that are really like, oh, man. Don't they?
Oh, yes. I love the service. It's just really great. So I look forward to it every Friday night. But anyway, I appreciate your show. And this show right here itself is a home. Every Saturday. It is a home for somebody.
Yes, God has provided that for me too.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, he did. He absolutely did, and for Bob too, right? Isn't it home to you?
It is, and it's a grounding for me. It's a time I get to forget about everything. Come, see what Robbie's got going. And sometimes I get there, I don't have a clue what's going to come out of his mouth. And I don't. I really, really, really don't. But it always comes full circle. Sometimes it happens early in the show. Sometimes it happens right near the end of the show when I say, wow, I get it, But it's when he mentioned home today and our burning for home, and when he told his story at the very beginning, it really connected me to with my son's story and everything, and I always connect. It doesn't happen right out of the chute some days, and I admit, one day I got it going home. I'd already left the show before it really came full circle, and it hit me. That's what he was talking about,
Yeah.
But God does that with me all the time. Believe me, I was like, "Where are we going?" I feel the same way. That I'm so blessed to have, you guys as friends and to have this opportunity, because, think of all the callers over the years, Keith. Oh my goodness!
Wow.
It's home. It really is. So God bless you. Thank you so much for your being part.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Have a great day.
You too, sir. God bless.
Thanks, brother.
All right. Well, Bob, we're still here live, and we're going to be here live for the next radio show, and we got a lot going on, but we hate to say goodbye to you, but we are so glad that you listened. And we would ask that you'd visit us at ChristianCarGuy.com. You can listen to the podcast, of course, if you didn't get to hear all of today's show and you want to hear more about homecoming. Because, at the end of the day, the word repent is just like the word restore. It's exactly similar in Hebrew construction, that it starts with that burning desire for home, just like the prodigal son that day. We all have it, and God's just waiting there with open arms, Bob.
Brother, it was great being here today. Thank you for having me, and thanks for letting me be a part.
And as always, slow down. Jesus walked everywhere he went, got it all done in 33 years. Thank you so much for listening to the Christian Car Guy Show.